Hello and Assalamu alaikum. This is Ali Abbas and I'm here with my new video on coordinate geometry. And today's topic in coordinate geometry is gradient of a line. So what's gradient of a line? Gradient is basically rise over run. Suppose that there are 2 points. One is P as given in the question. The other one we can say it's Q. So gradient is basically rise over run means how much the point is rise and how much we can divide it by the run. So means how much change will it be having in y-axis divided by the change in x-axis. So if we can say the point P, which is the first point we're supposing, and the coordinates are x1 and y1. So similarly for point Q, the coordinates are x2 and y2 because we are taking it as the second point. So the gradient between 2 points is basically denoted by m, and the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what is y2 minus y1? Y2 minus y1 is basically rise. So it is basically the change in y-axis. We can say it as rise. So what about run? Run is basically the change in x-axis. So we can say it as it is run. So how to find you can say the gradient when the questions are given in the very first type. In the very first type, you can see the coordinates of 2 points are given. We can simply replace the values in this gradient formula, and then we will be having our answer directly. So we are supposing point P as the first point. So P is -2 and 1, and Q is 6 and 13. So if we have supposed, you can say the very first point P, so it was x1, y1, and similarly for Q, it is x2 and y2. Simply replace these values into the formula means m equals to y2. What is y2? Y2 is 13 minus, and the value of y1 is 1 divided by 6, and there is a negative sign in the formula and as well as in the value of x1. So we can directly convert this negative sign into positive, means two negatives are being multiplied gives us positive. So we have to write down 2. So now simply add and subtract the numerators and denominators and then divide them. That will be the answer. So 13 minus 1 is 12. 12 divided by 6 plus 2 is 8. So 12 by 8, we can simplify, uh, you can say we can simply divide the both of the numbers with the same numbers. So the highest common factor of 12 and 8 is 4. For 3 times 12 and for 2 times 8. So the answer is 3 by 2, or we can write down in the mixed fraction form as 1 whole 1 over 2. So it is basically the questions normally come in paper 1 like this, and we have to just do this thing without calculator because calculators are not allowed in P1 of O levels. So we need to have some kind of practice in these type of questions. So there is a second type of questions. In the second type of the questions, the graph is given, and with the help of graph, we have to find the gradient. Means if there is a line L, and they said that we have to find the gradient of line L. So for having the gradient of any line which is already given on the grid, so how to find the gradient? We need to just point out the points that we have proper coordinates that are given, means that are not in the decimals. So actually we can see in the diagram this point is clearly defined. We can say the coordinates of this point is 0 and 1 because the values of x on the y-axis is 0. So there is one other point we can say this is the second point we can choose, and the coordinates for this point is on x-axis it is 1, on y-axis it is 3. So 1 comma 3 are the coordinates of this second point. We can take any of the point on the line, it doesn't matter that we have to take only these 2 points. So we can take any of the points, but do remember this thing, that those coordinates must not be in the decimal, because we cannot figure it out from this diagram that what are basically the values of those coordinates. So do remember this thing, the coordinates must not be in decimal form. So we have the 2 points. The answer for this, you can say the marks for this answer is 1. So we have to do this thing directly. So how we can do it directly? We can use either the formula, or we can see from the diagram. So what will be the answer? I'm doing from both of the methods. So first of all, look at the gradient formula. So gradient formula is m equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you can take any of the points as the first point and any of the points as the second point. So I've taken this point as the first point, and I'm taking the other point as the second point, means it is x2 and y2. So in the formula, we are replacing y2 with 3 and y1 with 1, divided by what about x2? X2 is 1 minus x1 is 0. So 3 minus 1 gives 2, 2 by 1 gives the result 2. So this is the answer. We can write down in the, I can say, the section which is given for the answer. So there is one other way for finding the answer. So look at the diagram. From the diagram, we can do it directly as well, because there is no working required for the answers which are having just 1 marks. So look at the diagram. Suppose that we have taken these 2 points. So look at the diagram. We have to look at the, you can say, the difference between y-axis for these 2 points. What's the rise actually? The rise for these 2 points are 2 units, means we have shifted on the y-axis from 1 till 3. So what about x-axis? On the x-axis, we can see there is change of 1. So actually the rise is 2 and the run is 1. So the formula is always the same for the gradient, rise over run. So 2 divided by 1. So we have to look at the change in y-axis first, and then divide that thing with the run, that is, in this case, it is 1. So 2 divided by 1 gives us the result 2. So this is a technique for understanding through the graph how we can find it directly. So there are third type of questions which involve gradient thing. So we are directly moving to the third type of the, you can say, gradient of a line questions. So in the third type of the questions, it is a kind of mixed kind of question in which the midpoint is given and the gradient is given. So in this type of question, if gradient is given, how can find the unknowns? There are three unknowns. Look at the points coordinates. P's coordinates are r and 4, and Q's coordinates are t and u. So what is being asked? We have to find the values for r, t, and u. So first of all, look at the midpoint thing. So from the midpoint thing, the x coordinate is given as 1, and the y coordinate for the midpoint is 3. So what is the formula for the midpoint? Midpoint is basically the average of the x coordinates must be equals to the x coordinate for the midpoint. So we can write it down as x equals to x1 plus x2 divided by 2 whole divided by 2. And what about the y coordinates for the midpoint? It is y1 plus y2 whole divided by 2. So for the x coordinate of midpoint is 1. Simply write down 1 here, and equals to what about x1? X1, we are taking p as the first point. So r will be the x1 plus r, x2. X2 in this case is t. So r plus t whole divided by 2. So cross multiply 2 times 1 is 2. So it is equals to r plus t. This is one equation. What about the other equation? What about the y coordinate for midpoint? That is 3 equals to y1. Y1 is 4 and y2 is u. So divided by 2. So cross multiply 3 times 2 is 6 equals to 4 plus u. So bring that 4 onto the left hand side. So 6 minus 4 gives the result 2. So 2 equals to u this is the answer for you. But we are not having the values for r and t. So for having the answers for r and t, look at the other information which is given in the question. That's the gradient thing. From the gradient thing, we can find out the answers for r and t. So how we can make it? So simply you can say follow me and do what I'm doing here, and check that what will be the result and what we have to do. So the gradient is, the formula is m equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So basically the point P, the coordinates are r and t. So what about the gradient? Gradient in this case is negative 1 by 4, which is equals to y2. What is y2? Y2 is u minus y1 is 4, whole divided by x2. X2 is t minus r. So whether we have the answer for you? Yes, we have. We have the answer for you. We have found it out through the midpoint formula. So replace the value of u here. So negative 1 over 4 equals to u is 2, 2 minus 4 whole divided by t minus r. So 2 minus 4, what's the result? 2 minus 4 gives negative 2. So minus 1 by 4 equals to negative 2 over t minus r. So now cross multiply. So after cross multiplying, negative 1 will be multiplied with t minus r. Both of the signs will be changed. R becomes positive and t becomes negative. So negative 2 times 4. So it gives the result r minus t equals to negative 8. So we have the two equations. One is r plus t equals to 2, and the other one is r minus t equals to minus 8. So there are two equations. We can solve them simultaneously. So because both are linear equations, so for linear equations, there are two variables, so we can do them simultaneously. So I'm applying elimination method. So how to apply elimination method? Write down any of the equation above and the other equation on the below it. So r plus t equals to 2. The other one is r minus t equals to negative 8. So already the coefficients of t are same but having the different signs. So we can cut down. Actually, we are adding both of the equations. So after adding both of the equations, signs remain same. So t minus t will be cut. So it will be 0 here. R plus r will be 2r, which is equals to 2 minus 8 will be negative 6. So divide that 2 onto the other side, r equals to negative 6 by 2. So the result will be negative 3. So r is negative 3. So we can replace the value of r into any of the two equations. We will be having the answer for t. So I'm replacing this thing in the first equation. This is the first equation, and the other one is the second equation. I'm replacing the value of r in the first equation. So we can put in the second equation as well. Both will gives us the same result. So I'm after putting the value of r equals to negative 3, it becomes minus 3 plus t equals to 2. So after bringing the 3 onto the side, it becomes positive. So 2 plus 3 will be 5. So these are the answers. First one is u. We have found it out through the y coordinates for the midpoint. We have 2 and r is negative 3 and t is 5. So write down all of these answers in the respective places in the answer section. R is negative 3 and t is 5 and u is positive 2. So these are the answers. If you have found it correctly, you will get full marks out of 4. So if you have any queries related to gradient of a line, questions, then do write down your queries in the comment section, and do follow my channel and share as well, and press the bell icon for further videos. So keep following.